something that's really, really important. It's a very difficult subject to talk about. Now, there are millions of people in our country, boys, girls, men and women that have been abused and raped. Now, we don't like to talk about, especially about boys and about men, but we have to, because they're victims too. But I need today to talk to you about what's happening to our girls and women in our country. Now, our girls and women are being raped, and some of those women from those rapes are made pregnant, just like I was. Now, some women choose to have a termination, or they go through with the pregnancy, with the baby for adoption, so it's just too difficult to be able to deal with. But some women like myself, we kept our children. And I started a campaign. Because children born from rape in our country have no voice. Their mothers have no voice. And those children also have no legal rights whatsoever. So I need all of you to get involved today to help me change that. Now, I'm calling on government for a couple of things. So, the first thing is, there has never ever by any of our governments been any commissioned research into the needs of women and children born from rape. We need to change that. Support services are not offering support. Professionals are not being trained. How can we support people if we don't know what our needs are? But also, rapists are allowed contact and custody through the family courts to our children. Now, this is a campaign I've been fighting for 6 years. Back in 2018, I started a campaign when I did an exposure against Rodden Council because he invited man rapists into my son's life. Now, so, above on the street there's a template, and I'm asking every single person here today to contact your MP, to contact the Home Secretary and put a stop to rapists having contact and custody to our children. Now, there are women all over this country that have to sit and have contact with their rapists and play happy families. And we've got to stop that. So, are you all going to get involved? No. Are you all going to contact your MPs? Are we going to put a stop to rapists having our children? Go! I'm going to go. But, before I go, my 2 children, my daughter-in-law, my grandson, is watching this at home. So I want to say that I love you, and I promise you I'm going to fight with your eyes.
When I'm Sammy Woodhouse, I've watched her start her journalism. She's a natural. I'm sure she's going to bring some great footage and great documentaries. Who saw my trip to Canada recently? Fuck Justin Trudeau. But whilst I was in Canada, and I was locked in Calgary, I had the wonderful opportunity to meet a lady for a podcast. I sat down with her. She was a mother, a grandmother. She led the trucker convoy through Canada against the forced vaccine mandates. We've got a video to introduce her quickly now. This lady spent over a month of solitary confinement, and she's currently awaiting a court case facing 10 years for standing up against forced vaccinations. Tamara Lich.
Wow, thank you. I hear that all the time. I hear that all the time. This is so beautiful. I just want to say thank you so much for having me. This is my first time to England. I am in love. You guys have been so kind and so very welcoming. I love you too. I love you too. In the winter of 2022, a small group of Canadian truckers, along with some volunteers, decided to stand up against government overreach and draconian measures. But we witnessed tearing families apart. We lost friends, we lost family. Our loved ones died alone, and we said no more. We drove across Canada to have an audience, to request an audience with our government so that we could have them listen to the other side of the story. And I'm going to tell you, if it wasn't for the independent Canadian media and people with cell phones, you would still all think I was a terrorist. But the funniest charge against me is intimidation, because as you can see, I don't think I'm very intimidating. Tommy was right. The Crown prosecutor in our case wants 10 years in prison for the crime of mischief. Chris Barber and I are currently going through the longest mischief trial in history. In Canada, mischief would be akin to spray painting on a public wall or something like that. So I brought my prayer guitar. A gentleman showed up at my court case last fall and gave me this guitar. He built it for me. But before I start my song, I just want to tell you a quick joke. Or not a joke, but an anecdote. The night that our lawyers flew into Ottawa. We've been here about a week and we had about 5 lawyers that flew into Ottawa. And my good friend and one of the constitutional lawyers that helps us to this day, his name is Keith Wilson. And the night that Keith Wilson met me, he didn't know me very well. He says to me, Miss Lich, I don't want to offend you. I really hope you don't find this offensive. But my goal here is that every morning when Justin Trudeau wakes up and throws his legs over the side of the bed, I want the first thing he thinks about to be, what's that little bitch gonna do to me today?